So, safe and effective back bends. Now, don't forget the back bend is essentially a front stretch, so there's a lot of it's in the terminology that you're using. So really we're not trying to push into our lower back, we're trying to stretch the front of the body. And before I forget, don't forget, if you like this one, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell. Now, without further ado, back bends. So the easiest way to find a technique of the back bend is to look at Dhanurasana, the bow posture. Now, if we're looking at a back bend in the normal way that we might be encouraged to, we're bending our back and we're just pulling back as much as we can. It means the shoulders pull back. I'm trying to pull back and create as big an arch as I can in the back, which means that I'm basically pushing into my lower back. Now, if you keep the shoulders forward, and pull forward with the shoulders and try and pull into your upper back, you've got a longer posture and it's not pulling into your lower back so much. So fundamentally, you want to be stretching your thoracic chest and not dumping into your lower back. So there's a number of ways to do that. And first of all, it's a squeeze of the feet apart that gives your sacrum release. So oftentimes we see the feet turned out and then that pushes into the lower back, whereas if you keep the feet parallel here in the back bend, you're able to squeeze the feet apart and pull across your sacrum and give it space, right? So really a lot of it is, as much as I've said, it's about getting into your thoracic spine, your upper back, you'll always have more of a bend in your lower back. So how do you mitigate this as much as possible? Well, it's really in the cross stretch, pulling across with your feet, across with the hands. So the feet are on the floor, swiping apart, the hands are on the back, swiping apart. And what you want to do in that way is envisage again that you're trying to come, once you've gone across, you're trying to come through with the tailbone and back with the chest bone. So really you're going all four directions, you're not just pushing into your lower back. So, and find your stage, access your stage. It may not be that you do the full back bend, you don't even need to. So if you're just waiting here and it feels more comfortable to wait here, you've got the knees squeezing apart or the thighs gripping, the hands are interlocked and they're also pulling apart. So I'm pulling across. And in that manner, I can get an anterior tilt to my pelvis, the pelvis is tucking in and the tailbone's coming through the legs. The chest bone is going the other way, and that's instead of what I'm not advising to do, the classic or literal take of the back bend is to push the lower back up. You've got this posterior tilt to the pelvis and you're just pushing into here rather than an anterior tilt to the pelvis where the tailbone is tucking through the legs, and that allows you to get length both ways. What you're looking for is a front stretch, as I said, stretching the front of the body, not pushing into the back of the body. So really it's the legs. Where the legs are stretching, it's the ability to pull across with the heels that allows you to get the real thigh stretch, right? So if we go into the full thing, and maybe you won't be able to see that much of it here really, but between the two things, but I'll try and show you the posterior and anterior tilt of the pelvis. So I'm coming to do the full back bend. One way is to push into your lower back, and the other, so the tailbone is tucked in, and I'm pushing and then you see walking the hands in and the feet in, whereas what you're really trying to do is pull across with your hands and feet and kind of tuck the tailbone to the legs. Right? I don't really think you can see much of a difference here, which means that again, it's all in the way you envisage what you're doing, right? Perhaps we could see it in Ustrasana if we look at Ustrasana more clearly. One is a posterior, so what I'm talking about is an anterior tilt to the pelvis. You want this time rather than this. That's the obvious difference. And perhaps we can see it clearer here. Tilt of the pelvis this way, so you get the length through the thighs. You're thinking of a front stretch, rather than thinking of a back bend, thinking of a back bend where you'll tuck the tailbone inwards and upwards and have a posterior tilt of the pelvis and you'll push into this area. Whereas I keep it like this, guard this area, keep the ribs in. So I'm holding this spot here tucking the tailbones. Remember, the cross stretch, squeezing my knees apart, yeah, keeping the shoulder down. Remember, it's pulling across as well with the hands, so the shoulder doesn't pull back, the shoulder stays down. And I'm thinking of a front stretch, and then I simply go back, keeping this tucked in, and take the feet, keeping this bit tucked in, and take the feet. And then I'm going as long as I can, pulling forward with my thighs, and letting my head go. But I'm trying to get my tailbone through my legs, rather than pushing into this area and pulling it together. I'm trying to get more space here, so the tailbone is going through. So perhaps to finalize this information for the back bend, you've got 4 directions. The cross pull, pulling across, allows you to go up with the chest bone and through with the tailbone. Because what you always want is to create space between the breastbone and the tailbone, so they're going in opposite directions, rather than get the chest bone and the tailbone together. Right? So you want to lift this up, but drop this part, which always means you need a slight anterior tilt to the pelvis rather than posterior tilt to the pelvis. Think of them as front stretches, think of them as leg stretches, and you really won't go far wrong. And belt, I haven't got a belt today, but use the belt around the arms and legs and try and squeeze it apart. That'll allow you to have space in your sacrum, and it'll really turn on your backbones, your back bends, and make them pain-free, comfortable, safe and effective, I hope. Anyway, let me know what you think. Subscribe, like and hit the bell, and don't forget to comment. I'll see you again soon.